Kevin Lynch was one of the most influential urban thinkers of the 20th century. He changed the way we understand cities, not by focusing only on buildings or infrastructure, but by focusing on how people perceive and experience urban space. For Lynch, the city was not just a physical environment, it was a mental and visual experience. He asked a simple but powerful question: how do people actually see and understand the city around them? Through his research, observation, and design theory, Kevin Lynch developed a new way of thinking about urban environments, a way that connects architecture, planning, psychology, and human perception. This is the story of Kevin Lynch, his life, his theory, and his lasting influence on urban design. Kevin Lynch was born in 1918 in Chicago as the youngest child of an Irish-American family. His father worked in the business, and while Lynch didn't come from a design-oriented household, he was encouraged to think independently and observe the world around him. Chicago itself may have been his first teacher, a city of strong grids, bold infrastructure, and a stark contrast between neighborhoods. This environment likely planted early seeds about how cities are structured and experienced. Lynch's path into architecture and planning wasn't linear. He briefly studied at Yale University, intending to study architecture, but left after a short time, dissatisfied with his traditional approach. Instead, he sought something more experimental. He continued his studies under Frank Lloyd Wright at the Taliesin, Wisconsin, one of the famous studio schools by Frank Lloyd Wright. This experience was critical. At Taliesin, Lynch was exposed to architecture as a holistic, lived experience, and the relationship between humans and environment, and the idea that design is not just visual, but deeply spatial and emotional. However, he didn't stay long. Wright's philosophy was powerful, but also rigid in its own way, and Lynch was still searching. Lynch later stated that Wright was a great influence, but disagreed with his individualistic social philosophy. Leaving Wright after a year and a half, he enrolled at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York, to study engineering in 1939, but didn't complete the program and went to work for Chicago architect Paul Shoemaker. In 1941, Lynch married Anne Borders, a fellow graduate of the Parker School. Like many of his generation, Lynch's life was interrupted by World War II. He served in the U.S. Army. This period exposed him to radically different landscapes, unfamiliar cities, and a psychological experience of navigating unknown environments under stress. While not often emphasized, this experience likely deepened his later interest and realizability, how easily a place can be understood and navigated. After the war, Lynch resumed his education at Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He received a bachelor's degree in city planning in 1947. This is where his ideas truly began to take shape. At MIT, he was influenced by a network of thinkers across disciplines, planners, architects, and psychologists. Most notably, he collaborated with George Capps, a visual theorist interested in perception and form. This connection was pivotal. Capps introduced Lynch to ideas about visual cognition, pattern recognition, and how humans interpret complex environments. This interdisciplinary influence became the backbone of Lynch's later work. After graduation, Lynch began work in North Carolina as an urban planner, but was soon recruited to teach at the MIT, where he spent most of his career. Unlike many theorists, he was deeply empirical. He worked directly with residents, students, and real cities. He conducted the interviews, asked the people to draw maps from memory, and tried to understand cities not from above, but from within the human experience. This was a radical shift. At a time when planning was dominated by top-down, modernist thinking, Lynch focused on how ordinary people perceived the space. And Lynch was known as quiet, thoughtful, and deeply observant. He wasn't a loud critic like some contemporaries, but his ideas sadly challenged dominant paradigms. He valued clarity over abstraction, human experience over formal ideology, and adaptability over rigid design systems. His approach was less about imposing order and more about revealing how people already understand their surroundings. And Lynch continued to teaching and writing until his death in 1984. Even beyond the image of the city, his later work expanded into time and changing cities, environmental perception, and what makes places meaningful over time. His influence remains everywhere, in urban design, in wayfinding systems, and environmental psychology. But perhaps most importantly, he taught us that a city is not just built, it is perceived, remembered, and lived. In 1960, Kevin Lynch published his most famous book, The Image of the City. This book became one of the most important works in urban design and planning. Lynch studied how people perceive and navigate cities. He conducted the research in Boston, Jersey City, and Los Angeles. He interviewed residents and asked them to describe and draw maps of their cities. Through this research, he discovered that people understand cities through mental images. He called this concept imageability. A city with strong imageability is easy to understand and navigate. It creates a clear mental map in people's minds. This idea transformed urban design thinking. Cities were no longer just physical structures. They became perceptual and psychological environments. And Kevin Lynch introduced 5 key elements that shape how people perceive cities. These elements help create a clear and understandable urban environment. Paths are streets, sidewalks, and transportation routes that people move around. They are the primary channels of movement in the cities. People experience the cities through these routes. Paths organize urban experience. Edges are boundaries such as rivers, walls, highways, or rail lines. They define limits and transitions in the city. Edges separate different areas and create structure. They help people understand spatial organization. Districts are areas with a distinct identity. Examples include business district, residential neighborhoods, or cultural zones. People recognize districts through character and atmosphere. they create a sense of place. It nodes are important points in a city. These include intersections, plazas, or transportation hubs. Nodes are places where activity is concentrated. They function as centers of urban life. And landmarks. Landmarks are recognizable visual elements such as towers, mountains, or important buildings. They help people orient themselves in the city. Landmarks create identity and memory. They make cities visually memorable. And Lynch believed that good cities are easy to read and understand. A well-designed city creates a strong mental image. People feel comfortable and confident navigating it. This improves urban experience and quality of life. Cities should not be confusing or chaotic. They should provide visual clarity and orientation. Urban design becomes a tool to improve human experience. This idea influenced planners, architects, and designers around the world. And Kevin Lynch continued developing his ideas in the later books. These include What Time Is This Place?, Good City Form, and Managing the Sense of a Region. In these works, he explained and explored time, urban quality, and regional planning. He examined how cities evolve and how planners can create better environments. And Lynch emphasized human experience, environmental quality, and long-term urban development. And Kevin Lynch spent most of his career teaching at MIT. His research influenced generations of urban planners and architects. He promoted interdisciplinary research combining architecture, psychology, and geography and urban planning. His teaching helped establish urban design as a serious academic field. Many universities adopted his method and ideas, and Lynch became one of the most respected figures in urban design education. And Kevin Lynch believed cities should be designed for human perception and experience. Urban environments should be clear, understandable, and walkable, and visually meaningful. He believed that people should feel connected to their surroundings. Cities should create identity and memory. Urban design should improve daily life. Architecture and planning should serve human understanding and orientation. And Kevin Lynch had a major influence on urban design and planning. His ideas shaped urban mapping and analysis, wayfinding systems, and city planning strategies, and public space design. Many planners and architects continue to use his 5-element framework. His work remains a foundation in urban design education. His ideas are widely applied in modern city planning. So today, Kevin Lynch's ideas are more relevant than ever. Modern cities are becoming larger and more complex. People rely on navigation systems and digital maps. However, the need for clear and understandable urban environments remains essential. Cities should still be readable, and human-centered. Lynch reminds us that urban design must focus on human perception and experience. His work continues to guide planners in creating better and more livable cities. Thank you for watching. I hope this video helps you better understand the foundation of architectural thinking and encourages you to explore the original book and its diagrams more deeply. We are still climbing the ladder of the knowledge in architecture, art, and the design. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below.